Hey everyone, welcome to Area 616. So yesterday I finally got around to seeing Black Panther in theaters, and today I figured since it's been a couple days since its release, I'd just combine the review with the spoilers discussion. So this will have full spoilers for Black Panther, so feel free to discuss spoilers in the comments below, and if you haven't seen it, put this in your watch later until you have. Now, it's very easy to go into Black Panther overhyped. The only bad reviews I've seen thus far are mostly from butthurt DCEU fanboys, and even the process of getting into the movie itself added to the excitement. We had to wait for almost 30 minutes just to get our tickets, because there were so many people going to see Black Panther. And keep in mind, this was about 5 days after its release. I went to see Captain America Civil War on opening day, and it was nothing like this. So going into this movie, I was very excited and I had high expectations. So, did it live up to it? Is it really as good as everyone says it is? Well, yes and no. Black Panther is a good movie. I very much enjoyed it. The directing, the characters, the story, it's all very well done. But I wouldn't necessarily say it's the best superhero movie ever made. It is definitely one of Marvel's best movies to date, but not quite the best for me. Really, there's very little that I didn't enjoy about this movie. In fact, the only thing that I just outright didn't like was the fight scenes. They got a little better towards the end, but most of them, especially the first one when T'Challa attacks the convoy at the beginning, are just poorly done, and it's because of the camera work and the editing. I genuinely couldn't tell what was happening through most of these fight scenes, which is a shame when you have a character who is as skilled a fighter as T'Challa is. However, the characters are where I think the movie really shines for the most part. T'Challa is a great leading character and a different kind of Marvel hero. He's not constantly throwing around jokes, he's very serious and very smart, which I enjoyed. Boseman does a great job portraying T'Challa's grief over the loss of his father and the division he feels over if he should have Wakanda stay hidden away or open up its resources to the world. Shuri, in my opinion, is the scene stealer of the movie. She's awesome. She's funny and charismatic, which makes her a welcome addition in a movie full of mostly serious characters. I will say that while the movie doesn't have a ton of humor, when it does, it doesn't always land quite as well as any other Marvel movies. But I mean, that's hardly the focus of the movie. The humor at times feels a little forced, like it had to be there just because it's a Marvel movie. But Shuri was always perfectly entertaining. Not every character was great though. Everett Ross felt a little underdeveloped, and I particularly didn't enjoy W'Kabi. Him getting so upset that T'Challa didn't capture Claw on the first try was really forced. I just never bought him turning on T'Challa as much as he did to the point where he'd try and kill him with a rhino. Overall, this is a smart movie with a lot of deeper questions and themes. One's greatly enforced by Eric Killmonger, the main villain of the movie. Killmonger, whose father was killed by King T'Chaka, and who was abandoned by Wakanda, is now full of rage and wants to take over the throne of Wakanda, not only to take revenge for his father being killed, but also to use Wakanda's resources, specifically its vibranium, to help oppressed people around the world rise up and overthrow their oppressors. Eric is interesting because there are a lot of moments where you can almost get what he's saying. Of course, what he's actually doing is wrong, but the question of whether Wakanda should try and help people around the world is an interesting one. With Wakanda's vast resources and technological advances, there's a lot of good it could do. Speaking of which, I wanted to talk about the tech for a bit, or really just one part of it, the vibranium. In the movie, it began to get a little confusing just what the vibranium can actually do. For example, in the movie, Ross gets shot and is taken to Wakanda to be healed by Shuri. She manages to completely heal him, to the point where he doesn't even have so much as a bruise to mark where the bullet hole used to be. And she apparently does this with vibranium. She doesn't say how, just that vibranium did it, which confuses me. I could buy it if maybe they healed him in a mystical nature, like a shaman or something like that. In the movie, Wakanda is very much a mix of mysticism and technology, which is really neat to see. And maybe I could even buy it if she used the vibranium to repair his spine or something like that, but the fact that he doesn't even have a scar or anything confuses me, because I just didn't know vibranium had healing capabilities. I thought it was just metal. It absorbs kinetic energy and all that, but apparently it's also magic. I didn't know that. I might have misinterpreted it, but that was a little hard for me to chew. One thing I really enjoyed was the culture presented in the film. We got a very good understanding of the traditions of Wakanda, and everything from the costumes to the music of the movie are steeped in African culture, which is really cool, and helped to set the movie apart. Not just from the rest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but from just modern blockbusters in general. Now, to wrap up the review, I really enjoyed Black Panther overall, and I think it represents a bright future for Marvel. This was a different, director-driven movie. Tonally, stylistically, it was very different from Marvel's other films, which is a step in the right direction for them. If Marvel wants to survive for another 10 years, they need more movies like Black Panther. It wasn't perfect, some of the characters were underserviced, and there were times when certain aspects of the plot felt a little rushed, and the fight scenes weren't really Marvel's best. But overall, it was a very well-made, entertaining film, and while I do think a lot of reviewers who have said things like it's transcendent and the best superhero movie in years are going a little bit overboard with it, I mean, did they just forget that Logan existed? I do think that, in a lot of ways, it lived up to my personal expectations. The number of MCU films makes it a little difficult to rank, but if I had to sit Black Panther in the list, I'd probably put it in 6th or 5th place. I can't decide if I think The Avengers or Black Panther is better. Before I go, there are a couple of things I wanted to mention for the spoilers discussion. One you may remember was that it was announced last summer that apparently there are 2 Tilda Johnsons in the MCU, one in Black Panther and one in the upcoming Luke Cage Season 2. However, apparently Marvel Studios actually realized their mistake, and the character was renamed as Linda. I'm happy this was done, honestly, not just because of the continuity error, but also because Linda barely gets 2 lines of dialogue before she's shot by Killmonger. It'd be a shame to waste a character like Nightshade on this. If this character weren't in a movie, it would not have changed the story in any way whatsoever. Also, with Bucky being hidden in Wakanda at the end of Civil War, I was wondering if he'd play a role in the movie at all, and it turns out that he's just in the post-credit scene, where he wakes up in the care of Shuri. He's referred to as the White Wolf, which is very interesting. That's a character I've seen brought up a lot by some of my viewers as a potential villain for Black Panther 2. In the comics, he's basically an American white guy named Hunter whose plane crashed in Wakanda, so he was taken in there. In the comics, he was taken in by T'Chaka, which is a little unrealistic considering the MCU T'Chaka refused to take on even his own brother's son, so it's a little hard to see him taking on an outsider. But it's an interesting character nonetheless, and it's interesting to see Bucky referred to as the White Wolf. But I'd love to know what you guys thought of Black Panther and all of your thoughts and theories regarding it. It's inevitable that there will be a Black Panther 2 with the success of this film, so what are some of the things you guys would like to see happen in it now that the movie's out? Also, there were, of course, a lot of theories that the final Infinity Stone would show up in Black Panther, but it never did. So I'm going to make a video about it this Friday, where I'll go more in depth about where that stone might be and what role Wakanda might be playing in Infinity War. So look forward to that. But thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. I'm always ready for a war.